Three prisoners placed dummy heads on their beds to deceive the guards and escaped from one of the most secure prisons in the world. Alcatraz Prison is located on a small island known as Alcatraz, roughly 22 acres in size. The prison is built on a massive rock in the middle of the sea, which is why it's also known as the Rock. The island is completely surrounded by the ocean and was considered inescapable. So, in 1934, it was officially declared a federal prison. It had a 15-foot-high fence, armed guards on 24/7 patrol, and constant surveillance. Even if someone somehow escaped the guards, they would still have to face strong winds, freezing water, and deadly waves, making any attempt to cross the sea almost impossible. But despite all of this, 3 prisoners escaped from Alcatraz and were never seen again. This is the story of the greatest prison escape in history. It all began with 4 inmates and a plan no one thought could work. At the center was Frank Morris, the mastermind. It's believed his IQ was over 130. He had already served time in multiple prisons for crimes like armed robbery and burglary, and even managed to escape from a prison in Louisiana. That escape is exactly why he was sent to Alcatraz, the end of the line for escape artists like him. Then came the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence. They were inseparable, born into a poor farming family in Florida. Both were doing time for bank robbery, and like Morris, they had a history of trying to break out of prison. Alan Clayton West, born in New York, a car thief with a temper and a reputation for being reckless. But unlike the others, West had been in Alcatraz for some time. He had worked on maintenance crews, moved through restricted areas, and over time, he came to know the prison inside out. And it was West who first saw it, a weakness, a small vent in the back wall of his cell, just wide enough to spark an idea. He shared it with the others, and that's where it all began. One small flaw in Alcatraz's unbeatable design turned into the foundation of a great escape. But there was one problem. The vent that led to the escape route was only in Block B, and none of them were housed there. The prisoners would often meet during meals, chores, or work duty, and that's when they started planning how to get transferred to Block B. Then fortunately, the prison administration moved them, all 4, into Block B and into adjacent cells. Their first goal was complete. They were finally in position, together. For the next 2 years, they quietly planned their escape. But everything changed on the morning of July 12, 1962. At 7 a.m., just like every day, the guards came to wake up the inmates. During the morning count in the assembly hall, something was wrong. 3 prisoners were missing. The guards rushed back to Block B and looked inside the cells. There, they saw Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers still lying in their beds. But when a guard stepped inside to wake them, they weren't real. What he saw were dummy heads resting on the pillows, fake faces made of soap, plaster, and concrete, with real human hair. That's when panic spread through the prison. No one had ever seen anything like it. 3 men had just vanished from the most secure prison in America. The moment the guards discovered the dummy heads, a full-scale search began. But deep down, the officers still believed one thing: no one can escape the island. Surrounded by cold, deadly waters, it seemed impossible. And yet, 3 prisoners were gone, without a trace. But then came an even bigger surprise. Alan West, The very man who helped plan the escape was still inside the prison. Something had gone wrong. He hadn't made it out. The FBI was called in. An investigation began immediately. They searched every inch of Block B, and that's when they found it. A small vent, broken open. The same kind of vent behind the cells of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. And they found a fourth one, behind Alan West's cell, also broken, but blocked from the inside. That's when they turned to West for answers. And for him, telling the truth was the only way out. West admitted everything. The entire plan was his idea. They stole forks from the kitchen to dig around the vents. And later, they built a drill using a vacuum cleaner motor from the prison shop. To stay hidden, they placed objects in front of the holes. And they only worked when the prison was loud, during music hour or games, so no one would hear the sound. Behind the cell wall was a utility corridor with no security. From there, they climbed up a drain pipe that led to the roof, a place they already had access to for maintenance work. Up there, while pretending to fix things, they studied every detail, every pipe, every shadow, every way out. Eventually, from the roof, they climbed down another pipe to reach the shoreline. But they needed something more, a way to survive the ocean. So over months, they secretly collected raincoats given by the prison and stitched together a homemade inflatable raft. They even created backup flotation gear in case the raft failed in the water. But even with all that planning, no one knows for sure what happened next. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, and Coast Guard searched the bay and surrounding areas for weeks. No bodies, no raft, no trace. At first, many believed the ocean had claimed them. The waters around Alcatraz are brutally cold, just 50 to 55 degrees, with powerful currents. If the raft failed, survival would have been nearly impossible. And yet, something didn't add up. A few days later, authorities discovered a makeshift paddle floating near Angel Island. Soon after, they found a waterproof bag made from raincoats. Inside were personal items, photographs, letters, even a wallet. But still, no sign of the men. And then came the theories. Some say the trio drowned that night. Others believe they made it and disappeared into the shadows. One of the Anglin brothers' nephews claimed his uncles were alive and had contacted family years later. In 1975, a photograph surfaced, supposedly showing the Anglin brothers in Brazil. The image was grainy, unconfirmed. In 1979, after 17 years, the FBI officially closed the case, but the U.S. Marshals kept it open, just in case. To this day, no one knows if Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin survived, or if the sea claimed them that night. But one thing is certain, they did what no one else could. They escaped from Alcatraz.